Hi, guys. Welcome back. And today I want to go ahead and open up and I'm going to tell you guys a little secret about myself. And since nobody watches my channel, hopefully nobody will ever hear this. And if somebody does happen to hear this and knows what I'm talking about whenever I start talking about what I'm talking about, please give me some insight. Please give me some kind of comments of what you think happened this night that I'm going to be talking about. So what I'm going to start off and say is that I am spiritually led, and I always have been. I also have a spirit guide, and this guide has been with me since I was a child. This guide has been with me on travels and, if you guys believe in it, astral projections, things of that nature, ever since I was a child. Whenever I was younger, I was more open so I could see and hear. I decided that I did not want to see or hear the spirit world. I just wanted to see or hear the physical world because I don't have to see or hear them to know that they're there. I can feel them. And so I told them that whenever I was really, really young. I told my spirit guide that, I don't want to, they were scaring me. I didn't want to see them. So I don't see or hear them anymore. So what happens is they speak with me telepathically, and then through images and things of that nature, but it's telepathically for me. So, and my spirit guide is always with me, is what I really want to say. And she was with me this night. And I'm going to tell you about some experience that I had. This last experience, it just really blew my mind. And I still don't know exactly what happened that night. And hopefully someone can tell me what happened that night. But now I'm going to explain to you. Again, I don't want to see or hear the spirit world. I made a pact that I can feel you. I know you're there. My energy is high. I can feel energy. And so my spirit guide has been wanting me to see the spirit world. I can see the spirit world when I astral project, but I just don't want to see it in the physical. She's been wanting me to see the spirit world in the physical, but I don't want to see it. And so she wanted to take me on a test. She wanted to wanted me to be able to decipher my own thoughts from what her intuition and intuitive knowledge is. She said, I will test you and you will know that it is me, so that you will never be confused on where you're getting these ideas from. So I ended up on a dating line, y'all. I was not looking for a guy or to have sex or anything like this. I knew that this was going to be some kind of spiritual awakening for me. I knew that something was going to happen to where it was going to show me, I, I, show me my skills, So I found a guy. And I knew that this guy was trouble just by seeing him because, again, I can read through your eyes. I don't have to be in front of you. I can read you through your eyes just by looking at a picture. And we decided that that was the guy. So we made a date and we went out to this like little restaurant and everything. And so while we was out, he ended up had a so-called burst water pipe at his house. And he had to stop at his house before he dropped me off to shut off the water so that he wouldn't have a flood. Now, of course, I didn't want to go, but I did ride with him because I was riding in his car. I did have my own car. This is what my spirit guide told me to do. And again, I'm led by the spirit. Everything I do is led by the spirit. And so we pull up to the house. I look at it. I saw the darkness over it, in it, through it. And I got scared because I could see the darkness and I could feel the darkness around that home and the things that had happened there. And so my spirit guide will come in when I'm scared. And so what I can do is I could take a back seat. And what I mean by take a back seat is I can allow myself to let somebody else drive my vehicle. We share this vessel. And so I can let somebody else share my vehicle slash vessel. And it's as if they are driving and I'm in the back seat. And I'm looking out of the windows of the car, which would be the eyes of the body. So I can still see, feel, and hear. But there are some times that I will not be able to remember what she has said or done um, with to certain people, or and I'll forget, and and I'll explain more about that a little bit later. So we get to the house, we pull up. I saw the darkness. I was scared. My spirit guide told me that she was gonna go in because my heart started beating fast, and I knew what was going to happen. And she told me I'm gonna go in. And so I took a back seat and she walked in. We walked in, but she was in the driver's seat. So this is how I was able to make it in the house, because I would not have gotten out the car. It was her ass that took me in there. So we get in there and she was still in the front seat during this time. And then I felt comfortable once we got in the house. And so I came back forward and I started asking him stuff, like, well, come on, we should go ahead and get ready to leave, because I realized no water was running and he had never went down to the basement. And then he gave me this look like, oh, so you just ready to leave, huh? And when I saw that look, I knew that I was supposed to be submissive that night, and I was not supposed to tell him what I wanted to do. I saw it right then, right there. And so I was like, oh, okay, we could stay. And he was like, well, let's roll a blunt, then we could go. And so he went to the couch to start rolling up the blunt. I was walking behind him. And as I went to sit down, my body froze, y'all. Midair, I froze. So just imagine I'm going to sit down. So my butt is in the air. I'm bending over. I'm about to sit down. My knees are halfway bent. I froze in that position. And while I froze is because I heard my spirit guide say, listen to what he says. And that froze me because as she was telling me that, I started seeing images of women being hurt, raped, blood, killed, kidnapped, held. I saw all of that. And it scared the shit out of me because I know that he done it. And she told me that just, we're going to listen to what he said. You're going to be okay. And so we sat down. So I was frozen in midair for at least a good 30 seconds while me and her were going through this debate and these images were coming through. So we both sat down, and I remember sitting down because it was very robotic-like. So it wasn't me that sat down. It was actually her. She was in the vessel at this time. I was in the back seat. And so when we sat down, it was slow like a robot. I sat down with my legs straight, my back straight. I sat down, my back was straight, my legs were straight. I had them just sitting up. I had my hands in my lap. I was looking forward, and then I just turned my neck and I looked at him. Eye contact, immediate. What I realized is once I looked at him, I could see inside of him. I knew everything that was happening. What I want to say is the eyes truly are windows to your soul. And if you are a clairvoyant, you know this. And so I saw that. And so I saw it in his eyes. So we sat on down. And as soon as I turned my head and gave him that eye contact, he started talking. He started talking about relationships he had, how he had done some women wrong and he shouldn't have, how some women deserved it, and how this one person, he really felt bad about the way he did her. And his head was down, but he was telling me everything as if we had known each other our whole life. And during this time, I also saw an image to where I saw rejection. And I saw him putting me in the picture of those women. And so that is where the assaults would take place. It was when he would be feeling rejection. And so I told him, I said, so would you like a hug? And then he said, yes. And this like slow, raspy voice. And I went in to give him a hug, y'all. Again, I do want to let you know I'm clairvoyant. I feel energy. I felt it. It's draining. He was very draining. It was like having a vacuum on my body. I could feel the suction. So I held him for a few seconds. I couldn't hold him long because of the drain that he was doing to my body, but just long enough to let him. So we did. We probably hugged for a good minute. I finally let him go. He sat back. He continued to talk and talk and talk. During this time, he looked over at me, just in the middle of him talking. He put his hands around my neck. He pushed me back on the couch. He leaned on top of me. And that's when I realized, oh, I'm not looking at him. Let me stop and look at him. And so because my eyes were closed and I had turned my head because it took me by surprise. And something told me, my spirit guide said, look at him. And so I turned my head, I opened my eyes, I looked him in his eyes as I had been looking at him when he was telling me all his business, and he automatically loosened the grip on my neck, sat up, got back into position, and started talking again. I sat back up too as if nothing had happened and just started listening again because I felt his soul. I knew he had been hurt. He had been feeling rejection. He really wanted love. He had hurt people, women, but he felt bad about it. It's something about me, no matter how bad of a person that person is. I've been in some horrible things in my life and I'll share them more. When I'm in that situation, I no longer look at them as a monster because even a monster has been hurt. What turned that monster into that monster is my perception. So I did not look at him in any evil light. As he was telling me these, I had compassion. I was nodding. I was like, that's right. It's okay. So I was compassionate for him because I felt his soul and I knew his energy. And so he didn't let go of my neck. He started talking, and then he went ahead and he said, so do you trust me? And I was like, yes. And he was like, why do you trust me? And I said, because I know that sometimes, no matter what the circumstance is or what the situation is, I know that your spirit can get you out of that situation. It can change those circumstances. And he said, you're right. And he sat back as if he was like breathing a sigh of relief. And when he did that, I knew it was time to give him another hug. And so I said, so would you like a hug? It was something about when I gave him those hugs, I was transferring some kind of energy that was calming him down. And he was like no longer in that rejection, I need to hurt somebody phase. It was as if he looked at me as a person. And so I went in to give him that second hug. But when I did, my body collapsed in his arms and I started shaking. So my entire body is shaking and I can't hold myself up. He has to hold me with his hands. So he is sitting on the couch. He is holding me up with his hands. And I am shaking in convulsions in his arms. I could not control myself. I don't know what it was. Please, if somebody knows, let me know. Was that caused me to shake like that whenever he went in to give me that hug? He was draining my energy. It was so draining of my energy that I almost felt like I was going to pass out. Straight up. I mean, I started getting tired as I laid there in his arms shaking like that. I was actually getting weak. And then that's when my spirit guide told me that I had to touch his heart. And I was like, how am I going to touch his heart? And I can't even hold myself up. And she said, you have to touch his heart. And so I went up because I was thinking, okay, good. I touch his heart. I can finally sit up, get out this hug so that I can stop shaking and I can gain control of my body again. So he's still holding me. I am shaking uncontrollably. And now I have lifted my hand up and I'm trying to touch him, to touch his chest. And as I went to touch his chest, the strangest thing happened, guys. It was as if there was like a magnetic field in between us that was stopping me from touching his chest. You know how whenever you put a magnet, a negative and a positive magnet together and they can't touch? It's like some kind of magnetic field in between them and they just cannot touch. That's what was happening between my hand and his chest. I could not touch it. It was as if a brick wall was in between us, but it was nothing but air. So now my hand is shaking uncontrollably in front of his chest because I'm trying my hardest to touch it. And I'm telling my spirit guide, how am I ever going to be able to touch this thing? Because I'm losing power. I can barely hold, I can't hold myself up. How am I going to be able to touch his chest? It's going to drain everything in me to touch his chest. And she was like, you have to do it. I was like, but I can't. It's literally, me and her are having this telepathic communication. And so I'm like, well, I can't. It's something in between us that is stopping me from being able to touch him. And she told me to look at my hand the way I was looking at him and to push that energy into my hand and to tell my hand to touch his chest. And so I looked at my hand and I did that. I start telling my hand to touch his chest. And then another weird thing happened. My hand started moving towards his chest and I could start trying to touch it. But before I touched it, I realized, because now just remember this, I'm still shaking. My hand is still shaking, but now I'm pushing towards his chest. Now I've been shaking for 2 minutes straight in this man's arm. And I remember thinking, oh my God, he is going to see what I'm doing and he's going to think I'm doing something. I was like scared that he was going to see me for some reason, touch his chest and do all that shaking and stuff. And so I remember I looked up at him because my eyes was focused on my hand trying to touch his chest. So I looked up at him, y'all, and he was in a fucking trance. He was in a trance. His head was back on the couch and he was in a trance, y'all. So, but that actually made me feel better because then I realized, okay, he can't see what I'm doing. So let me hurry up and focus all my energy and hurry up and touch this man's chest. And so that's exactly what I did. My hand was already moving before I had finally got it to move, before I looked up at him and noticed that he couldn't see me. So I looked back at my hand. I continued to push my intentions into my hand. And as I did that, my hand broke through that barrier, that magnetic field that was in between me and him to where I couldn't touch his chest at first. I broke through that barrier and I touched his chest. But when I touched his chest, it was like, and it was so weird because I just barely tapped it. And touching his chest was draining, very draining. But I was told to put intention. And so I did. I put some intention into my thoughts. I said some words and things of that nature. And then I finally let go of his chest because the more I held him, the more I touched his chest, the more energy was being taken from me. Remember, during this time, my body is still shaking. My body is still shaking, except for my hand that is touching his chest. And when I let go of his chest, my hand and everything else is still shaking. And I was so weak that I was trying to get myself up, but I can't because again, this was draining me of energy. What I was doing with him, the hugging, the touching his chest, the putting those intentions, it was draining me. And that's when I realized that he was no longer in that trance either. Like when I lit his hand, whenever my hand let go of his chest, he wasn't in that trance anymore. And so he was now looking at me and he noticed that I was trying to get up. And so he helped me up. I was still shaking. He sat me all the way up. I scooted away from him because I had to get my own space to make my body stop shaking again. During this time, I would close my eyes. I'll go into a meditation real quick and I can gain my composure. And so that's exactly what I did. I stopped. I remember looking at the chairs in his, because it would be times that he would be talking also. And as he would be talking, I would just automatically do this. And I was taking in air, but then my body would turn my head and then I would slowly blow that air out. So I did that about 4 times too during the course of us talking. And then also when that would happen, whenever I would expel that energy that he had in him, and my eyes were closed, whenever I would first open my eyes, then I could also see what happened in the home before me. I then noticed that there was plastic on all of his furniture, even the couch that I was sitting on. I then realized just how much danger I really was in and that somehow I had saved, I was no longer in that danger. And so I turned to look at him and he looked at me and he just kept looking at my eyes. And I remember because there are times that my eyes change color. I have brown eyes, but there are times that they get really, really brown. And there are even times that they get a hint of green in them. I know this about myself. And so I remember putting that intention into my eyes. I literally told myself, make him see my eyes. Make him see that they're not just brown. Let him see the light brown. Let him see the green. And as I was putting that thought, he said, oh my God, your eyes. He was like, it's something about your eyes. And then I opened them big and I locked in. He was locked in and I took something. I took something, y'all, because I inhaled and I took something. I felt it. I don't know what it was, but I need somebody to tell me what happened. When I told him to see my eyes, he saw them. I inhaled like that. I turned my head and then I exhaled it back out into the room. And so we were, and at that point, he went to sit back. And as he went to sit back, because I know he was thinking to himself, what do I do now? Because he didn't have it in his heart to hurt me anymore. During our conversations, he was even saying things like, I got to keep remembering that you have children. And I just want you to know how lucky you are. And I just hope you know that you're blessed tonight. And I knew it. And I wanted him to know that I knew it. And so this is why I said that it's your spirit that can change the circumstances. So after so long, he knew that I knew. And as he went to sit back, his hand went in the air. And when his hand went in the air, I was told to grab it. I grabbed his hand, guys. And when I grabbed his hand, guys, his eyes lit up. And he smiled this big old... So he smiled this real big smile. And I ended up grabbing his hand. And so once I did that, I started pouring again intention into him. I was healing his heart. I was putting love back into his heart and empathy and compassion. And I wanted him to also be able to feel the spirit. So it was just certain things that I was intuitively putting into him while I was holding his hand. And he had this really blank look on his face. I held it and then I cupped his hand continually to put the intentions into what I was thinking and wanting to put into his atmosphere or his body, his vessel. And so I'm holding his hand. I'm giving the intuition, my intentions. He is totally still during this time again, but he's just smiling very, very big. And after about a minute, I let his hand go. And as a matter of fact, as I was doing my last few seconds of my intention prayer, I heard my spirit guide say, "Okay, you can go now." And so when I opened my eyes, after I was done with my intention prayer, holding his hand, I said exactly the last thing I heard. And I said, "Okay, we can go now." And so when I said that, he was like, "Okay." And I was shocked. I'm like, "Oh my gosh, wow, we're going." So I stood up, I got my purse. I started walking towards the front door, but I realized that he was not walking behind me. So I stopped. Before I got to the front door, I turned towards him and I put my hand out, ushering him towards the door as if to say, "You go first. I'm following your lead." And so when I did that, he went ahead and just went in front of me, opened the door, and we walked out. Once we got in the car, he was a totally different person. He was more, as a matter of fact, more like a white black boy by then, just talking in more, his words, much bigger words, and also with a little bit more intellect. I found out that he was a history teacher at a high school, a very prominent high school in our area, and just how smart this man was. So I definitely met more than one version of him while I was there. So I'm sharing this to first get it off my chest. This is something I need to remember. I believe something happened this day. I don't know exactly what it was. I did call an actual psychic, and I've only spoken to one once, and it was her. And so I called her, and she told me that I am a medicinal healer and that whatever spirit was in me actually killed the spirit that was in him, and that I had avoided death that day, and that I should take heed to my spirit guide. And so I knew all of that, of course, as I told you in the story. I saw it while I was there. And so she did confirm. She also said something about him being a vampire, a spiritual vampire. And that is why my body was going into convulsions and things of that nature whenever I was trying to touch him, is because that is what his aura is. He sucks and drains energy. He is a energy vampire on top of a serial killer. And so once she confirmed that for me, and of course I already knew it, but she also let me know that there was something special about me. Very special about me. Now, I do want to let you guys know that I did grow up in a Christian home. I have never practiced any kind of spirituality. I've never lit a candle. I've never had an altar. I have never tried to venture outside of anything but the Bible. And so all of my spiritual intuitiveness comes from my actual spirit guide, who I've had since I was a child. and who also follows me during my travels to the spirit world. She helps me navigate the spirit world. She taught me to fly when I was a child. I'll tell you guys more about her and also many other experiences in my lifetime where my life has been saved because I listened to her intention and what was being said and done. So, I know this video is kind of with the pictures and things, it's not really adding up with what I'm saying, but again, I only want the people who are supposed to hear this video to hear it. And so I just hoping to get some insights from someone. If you pass by my channel and you know what happened that day, can you give me some insight? The images, my spirit guide, how am I able to share the vessel with her as I always have been? How am I able to control not seeing or hearing the spirit world and just allowing them to talk telepathically to me? The energy feeling. I'm going to also give you guys a few examples because other things have happened in my life where she has came in and saved me or possessed me to do a reading to give someone information that they needed. And I will be giving you all, and I'll be sharing those stories also through this channel because I have to let people know. I don't know. I just want to figure out what this is. I know there are a lot of people who are more into the spirit world and they have names for this. I would like to know a name. I do know what my spirit guide has told me, and that is that I am open and I've always been open and I always have believed, and this is why she is here with me. And that is how I'm able to get my insight on everything that I do. So that actually is going to wrap up this video here. I'm just going to be showing clips now of different things that we've done throughout the week in our RV and how we have been enjoying our time. And please come again. All right, thank you.